Detlef Wiese is the CEO and founder of Ferncast, a developer of software-based audio streaming, broadcasting, and recording solutions. And he joins me here on the RedTech briefing. Thank you so much for your time, Detlef. Now, Ferncast has only been around for 3 years, so it's a relatively young company, but you've been in the industry for decades. And in that time, and I know you're a young guy, but it's been some time, right? So over your career, you've witnessed significant changes in the radio and audio broadcasting space in the landscape. I specifically want you to think about it as a technologist, as a software developer, as a guy who looks at how things are changing and responds to those changes, finding solutions. What do you think the pivotal moments through that, when you think about the technology and technical space of broadcasting, what were the pivotal moments for you?
Yeah, there were some moments, really. Thanks, Omar, for this nice intro anyway. So, the moments were, when I started, bitrate was so important. Achieving a low bitrate while maintaining the audio quality. We invested tons of time into that. That resulted in layer 3, MP3, later on AAC. It was a big achievement. Then people realized with this bitrate, with this encoding process, hey, it's digital all and there's latency. In some areas, some applications, we don't like the latency so much. So other encoding algorithms, other encoding means were developed and introduced, like aptX for a long time, or more recently, recently in the last 10 years. So I look really over quite some decades, Opus. And if I look in the more recent time, the last years, in particular in audio, I would say, video is a bit different, but bitrate became more and more available, so that in the production really was turned more to linear. And linear means high quality and also means almost no latency. And for me, looking over all those different, let's say, achievements and this different type of focus, as an engineer, I learned, the details, the technical parameters, they're not so important. It's the quality, it's the performance. And so we really now focus more on the workflow to give access to even, I would say, really complex conditions, complex function in a very fair and easy way. And you said 3 years. Yeah, 3 years is not so long, but it's also a reasonable time that you can establish something. So the experience in this time is exactly working on workflows, what people need, what operators actually need, and also that we have a mutual interest to solve technical challenges and that we want to help each other. So I consider customers and suppliers always as friends with a common target. We have something in mind, what we want to achieve, and want to have some benefit. And so it's more that it's not so much always this cutting edge thing. You cannot always invent something completely new. And nobody does that. But it's sometimes the small things which can have a big help and can bring people forward and make progress.
Yeah, now, thank you for that insight. But suddenly, 2019 arrives, something completely left field, the virus. Nobody's expecting it. Did that change the needs of your customers, the broadcast industry professionals?
Well, I think it changed the needs, yes. It changed also, first of all, I think also an awareness. How to communicate, how to work. And I don't want to get now too broad, but family situation changed, working from home changed, no driving anymore, everything being done on a small space, then really controlling things remotely, where typically maybe sometimes you even had to push a knob on an equipment, and if it's not remote controllable, there's a hurdle, there's a big hindrance to do this. But also I would say first the awareness. Lots of people have also used audio video conferences before the pandemic situation, but for quite a few, it was also, let's say, new, at least in this amount. So sometimes before, maybe occasionally a video conference, but now, every day video conferences from the morning to the evening. And I think with this, probably people realized very soon and very quickly that there are challenges, because the nearness, the closeness, the emotional part of talking with people has been really is different when you use an audio video conference. And not really skipping that there have been already developments in the last 1.5, 2 years. I think also some good improvements, But still, I would say, and let me pick this as an element, even if it's maybe not so much broadcasting, it's audio in general. If you want to have a spontaneous, dynamic discussion, then sometimes you need also to talk at the same time. And I mean, do this on a video conference. It doesn't work. People can't talk at the same time. So it's very polite, which I also like, of course, very respectful. So people hold their hand. Oh, I want to say something. I want to say something. But if you have, let's say, and you know this maybe also within your company organization, if you want to have a brainstorming, then you need to be very dynamic. And sometimes people talk at the same time, and that's where the creation process really starts. Co-creation is when people think in a similar direction. So, and bringing this back to audio, that's a challenge. And that's also an area where we have been working on. I mean, actually, it's for me sometimes a passion for a very long time. And this is a bit also in parallel to the business. I mean, that's not original Ferncast business, but it's a passion to bring people together in an immersive, spatial, virtual audio room. And that's I think there's lots of room to improve. And there's another company I'm working with my business partners, Binorix Audio, where we do this. And at the moment, we have some good chances to bring this to the radio. So radio is typically, also is mono stereo, but you don't feel maybe with a moderator, you don't feel in an interview situation as a listener, you don't feel sitting at the round table. And this immersive audio technology brings you actually on the table. It's a new experience. And I think that's...
So let's focus on that. So this desire to innovate in this way, this immersive audio experience, did that come about because of 2019? In other words, were your engineers having a different view of the future before 2019, before the COVID hit, and you had an idea, this is the kind of solutions you'd be creating, and then suddenly this thing hits in December 2019, you look around and you see the world changing, you see broadcasters having to work from home, much more remote radio happening, and then you say, well, how can I enhance the experience for audiences who are now in a situation like, is that what gave rise to what you call this immersive, this desire to create these sort of immersive solutions? How did they change the way they saw the world? Your engineers?
It definitely changed, Omar. It's not like that this was the start of an idea. The idea was much earlier. And because technology in that area had been developed also several decades before, but I would say an accelerator. And and let me just pick a very small story. Is my business partner has a family with 3 kids, and the middle kid, I mean, really was too much under pressure with all this hybrid and distance learning. And so we were thinking about what could we do also with parents, and said, oh wait, well, there is this binaural immersive technology. So actually we equipped the school class with a binaural microphone capturing device. And just to a sudden, there was a girl, I think 11, 12 years old. She was already sick for a long time, independent of the pandemic situation. And she listened with this. And just to a sudden, she could hear her buddies to the right and the left, like being in school, and the teacher. So she was not getting tired anymore so much. She was enjoying, because before, after 1 hour mono audio, and really, I mean, it's your brain has to work continuously. If we sit on a table with 10 people, we do everything automatic because our brain is used to this. It's just automatic. Somebody talking from the left, from the right, from the middle. But if everything comes from one place, which is artificial, it would be like people sitting above each other, which is surreal. It's not real. They sit at different places. So our brain has to work and gets tired. So after 1 hour, for this girl was tired. And now she said, hey, great, 4 hours. I mean, it's like being in the classroom. And then further, we equipped 12 classrooms with this. So they had grade 6, 8, and 7 working with this. Parents were happy, students were happy, teachers were happy. And based on this, we further developed and said, okay, come on. I mean, that's the situation. People are now aware of problems because, and also, let's say, honor much more the solution. So before, I think, in particular in communication, well, phone quality, 3 kilohertz, even HD voice, 7 kilohertz, people were used to it and said, oh yeah, I mean, I can understand, intelligibility is fine, I can understand the other person's voice, no need for, let's say, full transparency and emotions. But with this, I think people learned, yes, there is a need. If I well, the school situation is one thing, but also avoiding traveling. Well, if I'm not traveling, but I want to sense all the things, the details of a talk. I want to get the emotions, whether this is a grandma feeling to hug her grandchildren being very far away, or whether this is a business person doing a deal over a conference and sensing what's really the perception of my customer or supplier, of my business partner. And I think audio plays a very important role if you can get all the details and not just intelligibility.
So that's a fascinating area, that immersive audio. What else did Ferncast create? You talked a lot about workflow as an area of focus. What else did you create as a company that you think broadcasters are trying to solve this kind of problem, and you've got a solution for it?
Yeah.
What else are you really, think it was inspired by what happened with COVID and stuff?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm coming from transmission. I'm coming from audio codec side. And when we started Ferncast, we said, okay, we would like to stay in this transmission field, but we want to do something different. And for us, it was very clear that we don't go hardware anymore. We go software. And we said, okay, let's really create a software solution for, it should not sound too arrogant, not for every live application, but let's say for many live applications, and solve all those issues and functions and challenges from the customer, but do it fully in software. And so, that's what we did for streaming, for conferencing, for podcast creation, and to be used at many sites. And now, I mean, we have also customers in that area. And what we learned is that that the software should do the same job as the hardware. We learned very quickly, of course it should. And the key elements again were more the operating environment, the UI, how to use things, how to control them, and make it really easy for people to do this. I mean, I know that many people say this, but we talk really about complex parameter setups. I mean, so many details you have to set up when you want to do a nice live configuration, and why to bother everybody with so many, let's say, details, which means also if you have 100 options, I mean, you have also 100 possibilities to maybe set something wrong or not optimum. So I think that has been a big challenge, where I think we're on a good way now. I mean, there is some awareness for Ferncast. I mean, we are still at the beginning, but it's really fun, and most fun for me is to have happy customers, really.
Are your solutions only for broadcast professionals? Because, the environment's opened up. When we think about who can create audio content today, it's just unbelievable, right? You can do it off your phone. There are apps that make you a podcaster in an instant. So when we talk about Ferncast solutions, does it work for an amateur?
Yeah, I would say that that's something where we target more and more for. In general, I would say the solutions you create nowadays, that they should work for both, for the pro, for the semi, and for the amateur. Why is that the case? I would say because you want to offer the control of your functions in a way that everybody can use it. So also the professional operator with lots of in-depth knowledge, why should we bother them with a complicated workflow? And if you do an easy workflow, then the amateur and semi can control this as well. Still, I would say there have to be some differences, and the difference I would say are on the next levels, where maybe the amateur doesn't get into, the semi maybe gets into the sec layer, and the pro gets even in the third and the fourth layer. So that means with a solution, with a software solution, you offer different layers. And if the pro really wants to get into it, cool. So let me take an example. Maybe loudness is something, maybe for the amateur, the loudness should just work automatically. For the semi, you have maybe maybe one parameter, and maybe the pro really wants to adjust and maybe wants to consider an audio file in segments, maybe in 3, 4, 5 segments. There's some speaker, there's some music, there's this, and maybe applying even different loudness curves and algorithms in order to get an optimum file.
Well, as we round up, I'm just thinking, I was an ex-radio CEO for many, many years. And I remember in my own experience, when it came to choosing equipment and technology for studios, for anything, actually, it was the CTO who made the call, came and made a recommendation to me. And for me, it was too complicated to, and I just said, well, this is the expert. He should know what he's talking about. And off we went. Now, when I think back and I reflect, one of the risks there is that the CTO has relationships with particular vendors and suppliers, and they become good buddies, and maybe they get some incentive trips and so on and so on. How does a company like yours, a young company relatively, 3 years in the business, but you've been there for decades, Ferncast, what do you say to a CEO or CTO? Why should they choose you when they think about the brands they've known for decades?
Well, that is a great question, Omar. I would say, and then let me come to some details. I would say building confidence and trust is a key thing, and prove that you can do the job. But this, of course, you can only do when you get a chance. Mm-hmm. So before there is, of course, a decision. And yeah, it's true. I mean, if you are a young company, in particular in that field where we are in live audio applications. I mean, not only, but also in particular. So 24/7. And 24/7 means you cannot afford any failure. Then you are out. To prove to have no failure, you need to get a customer. So for us, really, the important thing is not so much another function, another feature, or a lower price. It's actually having customers who are happy with what you are doing. That's really the key element. That's also why, from the strategic point of view, we said at the beginning, well, it would be great to make lots of money and turnover, but we want to only have a few customers, but make them more than happy. So, and we had really the chance, I think that was a great opportunity to have a few bigger customers and showing that we can do the job. And I think that is a key thing, if in particular, if you change a bit the type of solution. So for instance, moving from hardware to software. So because there is, even maybe there is no obvious reason, there's some criticism. And let's say if something doesn't really work as expected, yeah, I always said it's because it's software. We need hardware, and so that's, I think, is the chance to show only by proving that the thing is working. What you do, storytelling, customer storytelling. That's a key thing, and I think that's where we are also growing up now. We have more and more stories to talk about, and in the start it was more Germany. Now it goes also more international, and yeah, it's a lot of fun to increase and grow step by step and slowly.
Thank you for your time, Detlef Wiese, CEO and founder of Ferncast.
Thanks, RedTech, and goodbye.